Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Gaming Gig Podcast, we're going to laugh, we're going to cry, and we're going to get down to brass tacks about the future of consoles.
All right, Daniel. So we're going to cover a lot of different things today. Kind of changing up the podcast a little bit. We're going to talk more about what happened throughout the week, this week in gaming. Of course, we are going to have our main topic, which is kind of looking at the future of consoles and console exclusives, because we got some word on that from both Sony and Microsoft, kind of.
Yep.
Former executives of both sides of the
And what do they know?
Well,
not as much as us.
Yeah, us two rednecks out here, we know way more than them, let me tell you.
Hashtag podcast in the woods, trended number one on Zitter.
On Zitter?
Yeah.
What is Zitter? I don't know anything.
It's X, but it used to be Twitter.
Yeah, but so with an X, do you pronounce it with a Z? Is that the way X's work?
Well, you don't call it an xylophone.
You're right. It holds up. I mean, how many X words do I pronounce in my day-to-day life? Like, hardly any.
Xenomorph.
Xenomorph, okay. That's not a daily thing for me, but we'll go with it.
It is for me.
Yeah, it would be. I would expect that.
Yeah. A lot of times Z, if it starts a word, X, see, if it starts a word, is pronounced like a Z.
You're even confused. You called an X a Z.
I'm not the one that's confused here.
Okay.
So I want to take us into our first little mini topic here, Randy, because this got me, it made me laugh so hard, but it got me kind of hyped, okay?
Okay.
Have you seen the SpongeBob Xbox?
I have seen it. In fact, I was the one who shared it with you.
Well, I was just trying to throw it up, as a conversational, jumping off point for you.
But yes, I have seen it, and it is glorious.
It is perfect in every way. I don't know that we deserve it as a society.
Well, it's a good thing we don't deserve it, because we're not going to be able to get it.
No.
Because this was a one day only available for one day.
Yep.
Only available through Best Buy.
It was a good deal, though, right?
Oh yeah, $700 for this thing.
But it came with all the exclusives.
Well, it did, the exclusives, it did not come with any exclusives, but it did come with. Okay, this thing is seriously cool.
That was a joke. There was no exclusives.
I'll put up an image if I haven't already. So this thing comes with this beautiful SpongeBob Series X system, which is really gorgeous. Comes with a SpongeBob controller, and then it also comes bundled with whatever the All-Stars
Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl
2.
That's the worst part about it, is that under SpongeBob's armpit, it says Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. Okay, if it just took that off and just let it be the SpongeBob Xbox, it would be 10 times cooler, and it's already really cool. Is
it worth an extra $200 for this SpongeBob console?
No.
I might say, okay, if it was $100 more, I get it. $50 extra. Well, I don't know. You're getting a special edition console
and a cool controller. Super cool controller.
But it feels expensive, but it was sold out when I checked on Best Buy's website.
Yeah.
So it was only available one day. I don't know how many people bought it. It's probably a fairly rare console.
Oh, yeah.
Super cool, though. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. Me and Randy stayed on Discord for 10 extra minutes one night after a stream just talking about how cool it looked. I loved it. So if you get one, send it our way.
Well, in not so happy SpongeBob news, this week also Akira Toriyama passed away, who is the creator of a lot of different things, but most special to me was Dragon Ball. Yeah,
Akira Toriyama, Dragon Ball is one of the biggest IPs we have. And a lot of people, I'm pretty sure a lot of manga creators consider him the godfather of the modern manga, especially a shonen manga. Obviously he was huge for us.
Yeah, Dragon Ball was my childhood, and is still even as an adult, I've gone back and rewatched the Dragon Ball anime multiple times. I love it so much.
Yes,
we're both huge fans. But you're also fans of some of his other work. I'm not as familiar with it.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger is the freaking GOAT game, and he did the character designs and the art for that. And you can see it, in his work, you can see it immediately. As soon as you see a trailer for anything Akira Toriyama touched, you can tell. And that's a huge statement.
Dragon Quest is another big one for a lot of
Dragon
people.
Quest, and you can see it.
Totally.
You even said back in the day, you when we were kids, you knew somebody who had a copy of Chrono Trigger, and you didn't ever want to play it.
No, I shouldn't say I did. The Super Nintendo that we borrowed
Right.
that we always had access to, yes, it had a copy of Chrono Trigger.
So you knew somebody who had a copy of Chrono Trigger,
Yeah.
and you said you didn't want to play it because it was like, oh, this is Dragon Ball Z ripoff bull crap.
That's what it looked like to me. I was like, this just looks like Dragon Ball. I was like, this is not.
Yeah. We were too young to think like, oh, the guy who did Dragon Ball did this too. That's cool.
Yeah, right.
You know.
I was dumb. I had no clue. I
Yeah.
had no clue. I didn't see how there could be a connection between Chrono Trigger and Dragon Ball. No idea.
Yeah. But that was bad to hear. You know, I really hate that. I still keep up with the Dragon Ball Super manga.
I mean, I do think Dragon Ball is going to continue on.
Yeah.
Obviously,
will.
the legacy is going to continue, and so that's awesome. There's going to be a new anime that's I'm assuming is going to continue as well.
Yeah, I guess.
So it's but either way, it's super sad, especially just being such a big part of our childhoods, but so many people's childhoods, especially people our age, like people in their, like we're in our early 30s. Anyone who was a child in the late 90s, early 2000s, when Dragon Ball was taking over here in the United States, like probably has very fond memories of this. So,
Oh, yeah. Let's move on to something a little less sad.
let's do it. Okay, so a thing that happened this week is, one, everyone has been playing Helldivers for the past few weeks. A rumor came out that Arrowhead was being acquired by PlayStation. And then the CEO of Arrowhead jumped down and was like, hey, no. We're independent. We're not being acquired by PlayStation.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I don't want them to be bought up by PlayStation. I want them to be independent and do their own thing because they're making a great game, and I would like for them to not have any of these, external pressures that maybe come from being owned by one of these big, massive console makers.
Yeah, now that they have a hit game, obviously they created this game for PlayStation. It is a PlayStation console exclusive, and it's on PC, so it's not really a console exclusive, I guess. But in terms of consoles, it can only be played on a PlayStation. I'm sure that now that they've created this for PlayStation, they have more pedigree behind their name. This is not their first game, but still, now they maybe can start looking around to other publishers and saying, hey, you want us to make a game for you?
Right.
They can kind of pull like a Platinum Games kind of deal where they're just kind of going around and making games for whoever wants them to, and then
Yeah. That would be cool.
Yep.
So we asked the Gaming Geek Faithful, have you played Helldivers 2? Because, we have. And at 27% people said yes, 42% said no, but I want to, and only 31% said no, and I'm not interested.
Yeah, I think 42% of people saying no, but they want to, just shows how much hype there is behind this game.
Yeah, it's massively hyped, and, I know those Xbox people want it to. Sorry, guys.
Well, yeah, fortunately, it is available on PC, so it's not like it's held down to only, say the PlayStation 5, like another game that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Hint, hint, it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
What?
But yeah, so it's not like it's completely tied down, but it is a bit of a shame that it's not everywhere, but that's just kind of how these deals work,
That's the way she goes.
PlayStation paid for them to create this game, and they're, PlayStation's pushing for this live service type game. And it just happened to be that this one was a hit and seems to have legs. I mean, people are still playing it.
Oh, yeah. I played it last night on stream and, with Heck Vatican. It was freaking awesome. So, and I'm not done with it. I'm hoping that one day we pull Randy in enough so that he gets past like level 7.
Yeah, I'm working my way very slowly through it. I enjoy it. Helldivers is a fun game to play. It's not the type of game that I'm going to pick up and play on my own, though. I'm going to play it with friends just to have a good time, but it's not the kind of game that I'm going to be like, ooh, this morning when I'm having my coffee, I'm going to play some Helldivers. Nah.
So why not?
I don't know. I have it has no, let me think of this, because I don't want to say it doesn't have, it has a reason to play. The reasons to play are not compelling to me. Like the
only reason to play is that it's fun. That's what they're relying on.
Right. And it is fun, but I feel like it's the kind of game that is going to be fun with friends. And I don't know that I would enjoy playing it with randos or just playing it solo.
Yeah. It's definitely best with friends.
Right.
But I have played it quite a bit with randos, and it's fun. It's still fun. I still have a good time with it. You just can't make all these jokes, with one another unless you use game chat. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's not good. It just depends on the person. But
I guess I would want a more structured thing to do besides like just checking off a big list of like, oh, let's do these things, or going through a season pass or something like that, you know, or leveling up. Like that to me isn't super compelling, and that's not usually what I look for in single player games. So I don't know.
You don't buy into the whole like galactic struggle that we're all
I
to?
like the meme, and I think it's funny, but
it's not a meme.
I understand, yeah, but you know what I mean. It's like
democracy is a way of life,
right? I think it's funny. It's just not my. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. I mean, I do enjoy playing the game, but I'm not gonna go out and try to play it on my own.
We'll never get him those stratagems, guys. we're never Randy ain't never going to call down that galactic can of raid.
No, I ain't. All right, we got a comment here from Livewire who said, as a dude who generally enjoys action adventure and RPGs much more than FPS, this is probably one of the most entertaining games I've played in a very long time. See, and I feel that way too in terms of like I generally enjoy action adventure and RPGs more than FPS. And it is entertaining, but I wouldn't say it's one of the most entertaining games I've played in a very long time.
I love that it's third person. You know, I know that you can play, you know, you can aim down sights first person, but I love that it's a third person shooter.
Right, yeah.
I love me a good third person shooter. I'm a big Gears of War fan. And Helldivers is doing that for me right now. It's doing the Gears thing, you know. And
it's a mixture between first person and third person, because it's third person unless you set it to when you aim down the sights turn first person.
And you can do that per weapon. You know, if you like the aim for a certain type of weapon better, you can set it that way.
It's cool.
Yeah, and I think I agree with Livewire. I think it is one of the more like just harmless, like not too serious, fun games that I've played in a long time. It reminds me of something like, this is going to sound weird. It reminds me of something like Vampire Survivors, which I've also been playing recently, in the sense that I can just pick it up and play for like 30 or 40 minutes and put it down. And it's just like, it's more bite-sized. You know, you do a mission or two, jump out. And I like games like that a lot. I don't always have time to like sink myself into something like a Last of Us, you know, like a big engaging story. Like, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm digging it. And I do play it with my morning coffee.
I don't know what it would take for me to like want to play it more. I really don't, because the way it's structured, it can't have a traditional narrative structure. So it's got to have this like overarching, everyone's working towards the same goal sort of thing, which is what it's got going on, which makes sense. But because it's so kind of like, you know, big overarching narratives, you can't get that connected with the narrative. And I guess that's what I'm missing, but I don't know that there's any other way to do it. We've seen the same sort of struggle with a game like Sea of Thieves, who also, the game has these big overarching narratives that affect everyone who's all playing the game.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get really connected with that story.
Yeah, I don't really get into the story for Sea of Thieves. That's true. I've never really gone in for the tall tales. You know, I've enjoyed the ones I've done, but I just love the freedom of Sea of Thieves and just making your own fun. Like it's never really been about the story for me. That's true. All right, we got a comment from Dongle22222 who said, I played a few missions and thought it was boring. I understand that it's more fun the harder it gets and when you play with friends, but the gameplay loop itself is still boring to me. It is more fun on the harder difficulties. You're right.
I would say it probably is more fun the harder it is, just because the game can be fairly easy on the easy difficulties. It's just kind of like a nothing game.
Yeah. The easiest difficulty is called trivial, and it's accurate.
And it is trivial. Now, we haven't played it. I haven't played it on anything harder than like the medium difficulty or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think you've made it past challenging. I think.
Oh, we did play on challenging.
That's
time.
Level 4.
Yeah.
Out of 9.
Out of 9. Yeah. So I'm not even halfway through.
I've only made it to 7.
But the good thing is that it does give you a lot of opportunities to die and continue. Like it isn't just like you didn't make it, you're done.
No, yeah, that would be awful if it was like that, you know. And that's part of the humor, because the Helldiver, you know, in the game universe is like super super expendable, and that's why they do that. You know, you just come down, you die, they send another one down, you die. You know, that's part of the humor. But it would suck if they didn't treat you that way.
Agreed. But they do. So, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's boring. Even I do think it's quite entertaining. I just think it's probably one of those games I'm going to play with the boys, and that's about it.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. We unlock the mech suits for you.
Oh, nice. So are they like, how does that work? How's the mech
It's a stratagem. And for about a week or two, everybody can use it. that because we unlocked it early, they're like giving. I mean, we all know the devs wanted this to happen, but that's how they're spinning it, you know.
Right.
But then after that, you're gonna have to be level 25 to buy the stratagem.
Ooh.
But I'll get you one, buddy. I'll let you use the mech sometimes.
Thanks, Daniel. You know I ain't getting to level 25 anytime soon.
I'm 22, so I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably still, I don't even know, I'm probably like level 7, like you said.
I think you are.
Yeah, I have no, I mean, sure, it's going to be fun to continue to play it, and I'm looking forward to continuing to play it, but I'm not jonesing to be like, yeah, I got to get to level 25 to get that mech suit.
Dude, for me, it was like 15 for the laser cannon, or not the orbital laser, 20 for the railgun. They nerfed the railgun when I hit 19, but the railgun's still really good, and now it's 25 for the mech suit. So
well, there we go.
That's where I'm at.
All right, you ready to move on and talk about the Yuzu emulation thing?
Hit me.
All right. So, Yuzu.
Never heard of it.
And Nintendo. Never heard of Yuzu, huh?
Never.
Wait a second. Have you done this? I haven't even thought. You know what? Let's first introduce the topic, then I'll ask, because I'm getting a little bit of a vibe off you that you do know a little bit about Yuzu. So, if you guys don't know, Yuzu is a Nintendo Switch emulator. And Nintendo sued Yuzu, and we thought they were going to go to court. We thought this was going to be the thing that drug out. Nope. They ended up settling out of court with Yuzu paying Nintendo $2.4 million, or at least they agreed to pay. They also agreed to shut down Yuzu and then hand over all their stuff to Nintendo. Like basically they're just like closing up shop. And because of this, also another emulator, Citra, which is a 3DS emulator.
Citra?
Is also down. Daniel's acting like he has no clue what's going on.
I've never heard of these things.
It is
Sounds
also
like
being shut down, which is not great because Citra, or at least 3DS emulators, I'm sure there are others out there, but Citra was definitely the most popular of them.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only way to play some of these delisted games that are no longer available to be purchased and played on real hardware. So if you wanted to play those games, you can't buy them anymore. So the only way to get a hold of them and play them was through emulators. Mm-hmm. And now the biggest 3DS emulator is gone. The biggest Nintendo Switch emulator is gone. And does this set a precedent for, what does this mean for emulators?
Well, I just want to go on record saying Yuzu, that sounds crazy. That's a crazy word. Yeah, I heard something about this. And, there are people in this world mm-hmm. who have sailed the high seas and maybe played games using these things. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's crazy that they would do that. And I hate that Nintendo took them down.
Okay, let's just be real here. I'll be honest. I have not played any Yuzu. I do feel a little weird with the idea of emulating a system that is currently in production mm-hmm. and being sold, and the games for it are all still available and being sold. That's me personally. Mm-hmm. So Yuzu isn't something that I have even thought about trying. Right. Are you going to be honest and say if you used Yuzu or not? Or do
you want me to be?
Sure. I would love for you to be honest.
Yeah, I used Yuzu.
Okay.
But I didn't use it very much at all. It was basically an experiment to see if I could get it running on my Steam Deck. Okay. Spoiler alert, I can.
Okay.
Or at least I could.
I don't think, I think if you still have it, you still have it. I mean, it's not like they're going to retroactively pull anything from you and you have it. So.
Oh, okay. Then I can.
And I'm sure there will continue to be places where you can download Yuzu. It's just no longer going to be updated.
Right.
Because it was being updated constantly.
It was.
And it was being updated so that you could play games day one.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. Switch emulation requires some system files and some things like that are copyrighted mm-hmm. for it to work. Mm-hmm. To get Yuzu to work, you have to have those things.
Yes.
How you get those things is neither here nor there, my friend. Mm-hmm. But that is the issue. The issue is the copyrighted part of it, because emulating as a practice is not illegal. If Yuzu was just an emulator that somehow didn't take advantage of any sort of copyrighted stuff, they couldn't have lost. that precedence was set back in the PS1 days. Emulation is not illegal.
Yeah.
It's the copyrighted material. So,
and I don't really know. I'm just a redneck. I don't know the intricacies of what it actually requires to build one of these. I know that there are some things going on with specifically with Nintendo Switch and some other Nintendo things, but also like PlayStation 2, I believe it is, or maybe it's PlayStation 1.
Mm-hmm.
One of those you have to get some other sort of file that is like
BIOS files.
Is it BIOS files? And they're
It's
like
BIOS files.
They are like for like a specific system, right?
Yes.
And they're down to the system level, and those are things that you would.
You want to get it for if I remember correctly from what I've read.
Okay.
I think you have to get the BIOS files from like a PS Slim or something, like a PlayStation 2 Slim or something for some reason.
I know there's lots of different options.
Yeah.
I remember looking into that. But anyways, I don't know all the intricacies here, but I do know that there was some kind of sketchy stuff going on with Yuzu where like games like here, let's look at this comment here. We have a comment from Dino Actual who said, Yuzu brought it on themselves. Nintendo did not bring down Yuzu because of some hate for emulators, like many people accused him. Oh, yeah. Nintendo brought them down because they pirated Tears of the Kingdom, not Tears of the Kingdom 2, that's not it. Tears of the Kingdom 2 weeks before release, okay, and charged people for it. It is illegal and theft, and Nintendo is 100% both legally and morally right. So, yeah, this is kind of what was going on. Games like Tears of the Kingdom would come out where they would leak early. The Yuzu folks would somehow, by launch day, they would have Yuzu updated so that it could run Tears of the Kingdom perfectly. And not only that, they would charge people to update Yuzu on their Patreon. So you paid them on Patreon, they would give you the updates. Stuff. I think that's what happened.
Honestly and truthfully, I don't know anything about all that.
Okay.
I do know that people were playing Tears of the Kingdom on Yuzu day one, but I don't remember people saying it ran perfectly, but maybe it did.
Maybe it wasn't Tears of the Kingdom, but I think it was. But there are other games too. It was like they were having games ready day one, and the only way they could have done that is if they were already using pre-release, ROMs of the game, adjusting them, and then they were selling this stuff, or at least they were giving it to them for a donation or something. I don't know how that technically goes out, but
yeah. And like my own situation, the only Switch game I've ever emulated is a game I own. Otherwise, how would I have gotten the ROM file?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's actually true. It is a game I own. But anyway, it's all this gray area, like how can you prove what they did? Things like that. But yeah, I mean, if they were doing that, that's legally reprehensible.
And it seems as if they knew something was up. They did say in their I have it here. I'm going to pull it up and read the statement that they put out because it's kind of sounds like it's very lawyer speak. It's like they had the gun to their head, like, hey, you say this and you make it. So the thing they said was really interesting. Let me accept the cookies on this website for your iPad.
Go
there.
ahead, man.
I swear it was on here. I don't see it.
Oh, Randy.
Oh, well. But basically, here's a little thing. Anyways, I'm just going to summarize. Basically, they said that they knew or they realized that the user emulator was being primarily used to pirate games or was being used to widely pirate games, and they were very disappointed, and they never intended it to be for pirating. But now they realize that it was, and so they're pulling it. It's ridiculous.
But the Yuzu emulator wasn't used to pirate.
Yes, but okay, if they're getting things before it's even out officially, it's only going to be for pirating. I mean,
no, but you can't go into Yuzu and pirate a game.
No, you can't. No, you can't. You're right.
And that's been why emulators have been safe so far. So maybe Yuzu crossed that line, and maybe they did, and in which case, I don't disagree with Nintendo. It's their intellectual property.
Right.
It's their copyrighted stuff. Mm-hmm. And if they want to protect it in a court of law, then that's their right. So, I mean, you're not going to hear me say anything about that. Citra, I don't know. I don't know anything about that situation.
I just know that the Yuzu people also were the people who worked on Citra. So that's what they just pulled their stuff.
And, that is bad. If that's the only way to play some of those 3DS games, then, basically what Nintendo's doing now is supporting, used prices, which can be crazy. But Again, it's their intellectual property, and if that's how they want to go about doing it, when they release the Switch 2, vote with your wallets, people, and buy the hell out of it on day one like I am.
Right.
This ain't going to stop me from being a Nintendo fanboy is all I'm saying.
Well, wanted to know how often gamers out there, at least the gamers who are watching Gaming Gig, how many of those are actually using third-party emulators to play video games?
Okay, at 14% people said often. At 38% people said sometimes. And 49% of you said never.
Well, I mean, assuming people are being honest, half the people pretty much never use them. It means half the people are, okay?
Yeah.
The question is are you using them? Maybe that should have been a follow-up. Maybe we'll do that in another episode, a follow-up where we look at, are you playing only games that you own, or do you play games that you don't own? I know personally, I use emulators sometimes, not very often, but I do use them. But I always use them for games that are either like unobtainably expensive, in terms of buying used stuff, or things that are just like super rare, that are hard to get a hold of. And always things that are, for me, I kind of go by, if it's no longer in print and they're no longer trying to make money off this game, I feel like, to me, floodgates open, I have no problem emulating it.
Yeah. Now, Nintendo would not agree with you there.
I know they wouldn't.
But I think that's a pretty decent little moral high ground to sit on. I think about Chrono Trigger, full transparency, guys. I emulated Chrono Trigger. I did. Only because I was able to borrow the copy from that dude and then rip it. But I did emulate Chrono Trigger. And also, full transparency, the day Square Enix makes a remake or a reproduction or whatever of Chrono Trigger, they get my money. Day one.
It's not currently in production. You can probably buy.
You know how much a new complete inbox copy of Chrono Trigger goes for? I looked it up last week.
It's ridiculous, I'm sure.
$2,000.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
$2,000 for a new complete inbox. Now you can get a loose cartridge for like several hundred.
Yeah, that is still prohibitively expensive in my mind. It really is.
It's one of those games,
especially when it's like an older game and it's like they haven't been trying to sell this game. They're not trying to make money off of it. I'm just going to emulate it.
Yeah.
Let's see, there's some comments on this. We got a comment from Yorkie Channel YT, who says, I usually prefer consoles, but I usually tend to play games I already own emulated. But if I don't own it, I only play rare games or ROM hacks emulated. Also, very kind of similar to what I was saying.
Yeah.
But also adding in the ROM hacks. That's something that you can't do on original hardware unless it's hacked.
Yep.
Yeah.
You never played any ROM hacks?
I don't think I've played any ROM hacks. I'm trying to think. I've maybe messed around with some of the ROM hacks that Nintendo offers on their Nintendo Switch Online service.
That don't count.
Because they do have those. They have like some special versions of the game. Usually there's kind of like save states, but there are some like special versions that I guess you could consider a ROM hack, I guess. No, not really.
I don't think so. But
it's maybe the lightest ROM hack in the entire world. Like
if Nintendo releases it, it ain't a hack.
True.
I've only played a couple. I played a little bit of Pokemon Gaia, and I played a lot more of Pokemon Unbound. So Pokemon ROM hacks are obviously super popular, and some of them seem really good. So that's cool. We got another comment here from CRA Gamer, who said, ever since I got a Steam Deck, emulators are like 50% of my game time, especially when you can run patched version of older games that practically change them, like Super Metroid Redux. Fantastic.
Daniel, your French isn't great?
My French is non-existent.
Neither is my. Even though I took French in high school, I could try it. I think it's "c'est magnifique."
That would have been my guess too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Steam Deck for me has also been my. It wasn't my gateway into emulation because I was definitely emulating on my PC before that. I borrowed your Steam Deck.
Right.
But ever since you let me borrow your old Steam Deck, I definitely, to me, that's like, okay, this is the handheld little PC. I'm going to want to emulate on this. It just makes sense.
Oh, yeah. I've emulated a lot on Steam Deck. It's a great place to do it. Any of those older systems, they run so good. All the way up to PS2. Runs great. Can't say enough positive things about emulating on Steam Deck. It's so convenient.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I've already got it set up, and I've enjoyed a number of emulated games on Steam Deck, especially those old like Game Boy games, stuff like that. Like that's a cool place to play it, especially the ones that aren't available on Nintendo Switch Online. But if they are available on Nintendo Switch Online, that is where I play them. Like recently, I was playing Donkey Kong Country, although I own that game physically, and I could have, played it via emulation on Steam Deck as well, or on a PC. I played it on Nintendo Switch Online because it's super convenient.
Right.
So if companies offer a way to play these games in a convenient way, that's where I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Even if it does cost a little bit of money.
True. I mean, if I didn't already have quite a large emulation library on my Steam Deck ready to go at all times, and that's kind of my go-to system, that kind of travels with me and whatnot.
Right.
I would also, I would also play something like that on Nintendo Switch Online. When the new Switch comes out and that becomes the system that travels with me for quite some time, I will.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about just like...
It's all about where it is and where it's convenient.
Right, where it's convenient. And if it's convenient and available at a reasonable price for people to pay, I don't think people are going to be playing them illegally. I mean, not saying emulation is illegal, but it's definitely not going to be something they download just, without having any physical copies or anything like that.
No. The way you beat emulation and piracy is make games available.
Exactly.
That's the way you do it.
I mean, it's not even beating emulation. Nintendo Switch Online is emulation.
True.
That is
third-party emulation.
Third-party emulation, right. Okay. All right. Let's move on to our main topic today, where we talk about the consoles, like the future of consoles, because we had both a former Xbox executive come out and talk a little bit about the future of consoles, and we had a former PlayStation executive, Sean Layden, come out and talk about exclusives. This kind of came out because of the conversation around Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that being a console exclusive. You can't play it on PC, you can't play it on Xbox, you can't play it on Switch. The only place you can play it is on a PlayStation 5, and that is it.
And you can't even play it there.
And I can't even play it there because my copy's still not here.
Shots fired.
I know. I don't want to dog on GameFly, but since Daniel brought this up, actually, it has nothing to do with GameFly.
It's not GameFly.
I don't want to dog on the United States Postal Service, which is really the real problem. Because GameFly gave them the disc and said, get this to Randy. Yeah. And it's been 10 days and it still hasn't gotten to me.
Ouch.
The last game they said they gave to the Postal Service and said, get to Randy. It never got to me after 10 days. I reported it's not coming back. A few days later, they said that it arrived back at their warehouse. It got sent back to them somehow. USPS, y'all.
So did you rent this or did you buy it?
I rented it.
You rented it?
Yes.
Okay.
But I did what it's called their game lock, where you
I know about game lock.
Reserve a copy of it, and then they send it out to you before it even releases. They sent it to me 2 days before the game released.
Yeah, so that it would be here on day one.
Yes.
Right. And on about day 2, I was like, well, I need to get me a copy of Final Fantasy VII. So I got on Amazon and bought one. And a couple days later, it was here, and it's right there. You see it?
And it probably also got delivered through the USPS. I don't understand.
It did.
But see, when you do through GameFly, they're not treated as parcels. They're treated as letters. And I think that's separate.
Right. Mine was definitely a parcel.
And I think that also Amazon has they prioritize those Amazon packages.
They do. I think they do.
And they don't care at all about...
Do you want to hold it?
Why are you doing this to me?
I don't know. Because it's funny and the camera's rolling.
It's like 3 discs, isn't it?
2 discs.
2 discs?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Look, so this was the Amazon edition. It came with a DualSense skin. That's going to look dreadful. And I am going to put it on my controller just for a picture.
That might not look that bad.
It's going to look like I have 2 soap opera characters on the grips of my controller. This
is Cloud and Sephiroth.
I know, but they're very Sephiroth's giving us
they can't see. And the listeners really can't see.
Sephiroth is giving us smoky eyes, he's giving us
Sephiroth can't do anything but that.
He's giving us his blue steel, he's an ambi-turner. He's not an ambi-turner. He can't read good, all the Zoolander references I got. I just think this is going to look real bad. I'm going to put it on there anyway. That's all I was trying to say.
Well, thank you for rubbing it in my face that I have not played that game yet.
Yeah, I've already got it loaded. I've been playing it via remote play on my Steam Deck sometimes. It's really good, and the graphics are excellent.
Once they get that PS5 emulator running, maybe you can emulate it.
Oh, I'm not planning on doing that. Never, not ever would I ever do that. Not even if we were on the PS11.
All right, so let's talk about this this thing from Xbox. This came from former Xbox executive Peter Moore, who is also an executive at Sega, EA. He's been everywhere. He's just a professional executive.
He's been around the block.
And let me click on the article here so I can read some of the actual quotes. Basically, he was asked about, consoles, because Microsoft has been just giving their games away. We got games going to Switch. We got games going to PlayStation.
Yep.
So he was asked about this, and he said that I think it's a real serious question that's being asked, I'm sure, in Tokyo, in Redmond, Washington, and Kyoto. He said that's what everybody's working on right now, because when you start off that next generation, you've got to be ready to absorb billions of dollars in losses. And is the industry, given all the layoffs and everything we're going through right now, is the industry ready for that? Look at Sony laying off 900 people. A lot there in the UK. My two eldest daughters work at EA. They're all right, but they're always looking over their shoulder. Then he added, so I think that to answer your question, those are the questions that are being asked right now, and it'll all be tied around. Do we continue to develop silicon? The role of AI? What does it mean? You can't look away from that. Are these companies willing to go another round of multi-billion? And at the same time, you're gearing up for another cycle where gamers may not embrace the console and just say, you know what? I don't need this. Times are tough. I've got my phone. I'm enjoying what I've got on my phone. There's plenty of games I can play. Failing that, of course, I have my PC or my Mac. I can do whatever I need there. And I really do let me get here. And do I really need to be spending what could be $500-$600 on a bespoke piece of hardware just to play games? So both the companies and gamers are asking themselves this question. Okay, I made it through that. That was a big quote.
Dude, I was worried about you.
I was worried about myself. Yeah. So a lot of interesting questions there. I mean, I think that it probably particularly kind of relates to Microsoft, who definitely, I think, out of everyone is asking, like, is it worth putting our money into a console?
Right. And the part that really stuck with me the most is when he said, I think everybody's having fun on their phones. That's like...
Yeah, that's not exactly true, though.
It sounds... What are you talking about? That's not exactly true. The entire world's obsessed with their phones.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they are.
Yeah. Not sad.
Yeah.
I just think I think it's kind of a cop-out, though. Like him saying, like, I think everybody's cool with their phone. Everybody's got Tic Tac.
Yeah.
Do we really need to put out another one of these boxes? We put SpongeBob on one. If that don't bring us back from the brink, nothing will. Well,
I think it is important to know that this dude isn't actively, working for Xbox.
Right.
So, but I mean, still, I do think it is interesting to think about where consoles are going, and are consoles starting to become a thing of the past? We had, or at least console exclusives, and if once console exclusives go, what does the competition for consoles look like? It's going to look very different, for sure.
Well, I'm afraid once the consoles exclusive go, that's when the Fire Nation attacks. That's when it's over. That's when the PC master race takes over. Hope you've been kind to your voice assistants on your phone, because it's over at that point.
But in reality, the PC, once there are no console exclusives, I really do think it goes all PC at that point.
How can it not?
So I guess we do already have a peek at what it would look like, because you have things like the competition in the handheld PC market. Mm-hmm. That would be kind of like what maybe consoles would be like. They all run everything, just some do it better than others.
Right. And I think just like we've seen with these handheld PCs, which are underpowered, compared to your desktop rigs, mm-hmm. It still all comes down to optimization. Mm-hmm. It really does.
Things get kind of messy though at that point, don't they? I mean, like for the average consumer that's not as tech savvy.
I meant optimization on the developer side.
Oh, yeah, but I'm saying like I was thinking like more like optimizing it from a consumer point, like where you have to go in and like change mm-hmm. settings and stuff. Like that gets pretty messy for like, say, a kid. Like they're not gonna be able to do that.
Well, I mean, what do we have in consoles now? We have where you boot it up and it works. And maybe there's two modes, And you
can ignore those, and you don't have to, because it's going to default to something.
Well, maybe eventually that comes to these handheld PCs. There are games that have like a Steam Deck graphical setting mm-hmm. that it defaults to, like Cyberpunk has that.
Okay.
So maybe that becomes more common. Maybe, if that's all that the devs have to worry about is can it run on PCs and, which these handhelds we want to run hella good on. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's something that starts getting built in and the tweaking becomes a thing of the past. I don't know. I mean, that seems like a logical progression to me, that they would want it to be more convenient as we move forward and easier, for people. So
I don't think consoles are going anywhere anytime soon. I could see certain companies maybe getting like less into the console race. I think Xbox already is there. I think that they are already not too worried about selling consoles. I think they know that they're not currently stiff competition with something like PlayStation and Nintendo. So, but I think it's important that they be there. And I like the product they have. I think they do a lot of very pro-consumer things. But I don't think they're too worried about it. But I don't think we're going to see consoles go away. Now, something that we are already starting to see go away a little bit are console exclusives. They're definitely still a thing, but it feels like we're getting less and less console exclusives, at least in that big AAA realm.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And especially now that you're seeing all these historical Xbox exclusives like Sea of Thieves jump ship. See what I did there? At least, visit on other ships. I think, maybe that's a trajectory we're on. I don't know. Maybe it's too early for me to see. I don't know.
I mean, we had, what's the Xbox guy? Why am I blanking? Phil.
Phil Spencer. I thought you were talking about,
Phil
I
Spencer.
thought you were thinking about Tim.
Phil Spencer. He said that, he thought that console exclusives are going to become less and less a part of, gaming in the future. And I do think that's true. And especially when it comes to like live service games, we had Sean Layden here talking about how he called exclusivity the Achilles heel of blockbuster games. That was kind of like the big thing he said. These games cost so much that it's almost risky to put them on one console because you put $200-300 million into some of these games. It's very risky to be like, I'm going to only put it on one console because there's so much more of a market out there. We just saw that with Helldivers 2. Yeah. It went to PC and PlayStation. And I do think that at first it was kind of 50-50, but I do think that I heard that the PC had overtaken PlayStation in terms of like, that's where most people were playing was on PC.
I think it probably is. You're the only other person I know playing it not on PC in our little circle.
You're not playing on PC because
no other person. Me and you. Yeah. So I think it does seem to be more popular on PC. And as a matter of fact, I bought it on PC first before I decided to get my refund. And
right,
because
we share the love.
Yeah, share the love. We do some console sharing there, but it seems more popular on PC. And as a guy who's been playing this PC more and more, like I get it.
And I'm also going to be playing a PC more and more because I just purchased a new game in PC. It's not here yet, but so I'm definitely like
the clap track.
Yay! It definitely feels like it. And we have other things like the recent Last of Us Part 1 that released on PC like day one. We're seeing PlayStation move into the PC market more and more.
Yeah.
And obviously Xbox has been all in on the PC market since the Xbox One generation.
Well, they're owned by Microsoft. So.
Right, yeah, so it makes sense for them. But like all their games are PC and console day one, so they all come out together. The only thing we're not seeing that is from Nintendo.
And now we're going to see even less of it, now that Nintendo's taking down Yuzu and Citra.
Yeah. So, but then later on in a different thing, Sean Layden came back and said he clarified a little bit and said that exclusivity will always be important. There were some things he said about, shouldn't take what he said earlier with too much, like saying that it was the Achilles heel. Like I think
he backtracked.
He backtracked a little bit. It seemed like he was kind of telling both sides of the story there. But I do think there's probably a little bit of truth in both. I mean, like exclusives.
There has to be a little truth in both, or no developer would agree to it. No publisher would agree to it. So, we did ask the Gaming Geek faithful who benefits the most from FF7 Rebirth being a PS5 console exclusive. And most of you did say Sony and PlayStation at 91%, while 9% of you held firm and said Square. My gut says that I agree with you.
That it's PlayStation gets the better end of the deal on this?
Yeah, but I also am not a businessman.
Yeah.
And I don't own Square, or know anything about Square's workings. But it has to be benefiting them, or why would they do it?
Right. I mean, like, first thing that they know is they have a guaranteed lump sum of money. I'm assuming that they're getting from PlayStation. They're saying, hey, we're going to give you this much money to keep you off other consoles.
Right. Got to be.
So that means that they know they're getting back some, if not all, of their production costs. I don't know, probably not all of it, but probably a big chunk of it they're getting back, and they know they're going to get that back. So it lowers the risk. So I do think it can be a benefit. Also, by saying, hey, we're going to be only on PS5, they're getting help from Sony, being like, hey, we're going to help you optimize our game for PS5. It's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
They also only have one target, so that they're able to make the game exactly what they want, and they have one benchmark in mind. So that's very convenient, makes developing the game easier.
That's like the antithesis of PC gaming.
Right, exactly. And I do think that they, in an interview, someone from Square said, hey, the reason we were able to have such a quick turnaround between Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, and they had a DLC in the middle between that, was because they were only developing for PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
They didn't have to worry about PC, so they were able to have a really quick turnaround.
Yeah, that makes sense. All that makes sense to me. You know, I as a non, like, I'm not like the techiest guy in the world. Like, I don't understand all these little intricacies, but it seems like maybe some of the reasons why we have to have these big beefy gaming PCs might be to compensate for a lack of optimization.
Yeah, just brute force your way through.
That's kind of the way it feels to me.
It definitely feels that way.
You know, so I get that. I completely see why Square would be able to have a quick turnaround if they're only aiming for one target. That makes perfect sense.
Well, let's see what the commenters have to say. We got a comment from Paul who said, considering I bought the PS5 solely for Rebirth, I'd say Sony, LOL.
Yeah. I'm sure you're not the only one. I mean, Final Fantasy's kind of a big name.
Oh, yeah.
And Final Fantasy VII's kind of the biggest of that big name.
Although I did see like sales figures from like initial sales figures showing that like every Final Fantasy game for the most part has gone down and down and down. It's getting less and less popular with every single game.
That makes sense too. I mean, me and Frankie were talking with some kids at school, and they really had never played Final Fantasy. And we were talking about how, like, when we were growing up, anytime Final Fantasy dropped, it was like, okay, you're about to see what is the console capable of. You know, what kind of graphics can the console push? You're going to get the best ones right here in Final Fantasy. And it was always like hot for that generation. You know, Final Fantasy X.
God, I know.
I remember.
Me too.
I remember seeing it.
I didn't even own it. I just watched my friend play it at his house, and it was like, this is the best looking game I've ever seen.
I still in my mind, in my memory, have never seen better graphics. You know,
yeah, definitely. You've never seen anything better. But no, I mean, like Final Fantasy VII Remake was that way. I mean, what a beautiful game on the PS4 too. Final Fantasy, what was it? We just get 16.
Yeah,
beautiful game on the PS5.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Gorgeous game on the PS5.
I can't say anything about it. God, I want to play it so bad.
I really haven't played enough of it.
I'm so mad at whoever and whatever. I think they sent it from the LA place, so it's got to make it across the country. I know that I think they reverted back to doing this by horseback or something because it has taken them a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably horses. They probably just, put it in the saddlebags of one lone pony, slapped him on the ass, and sent him on his way.
Yeah.
Find your way to Georgia, buddy.
Jeez. All right, here's this next one.
Dat mini Docris. That mini do Chris said, I've been saying this for years. Platform exclusives do not benefit the developer whatsoever. All it does is make them miss out on a massive amount of potential sales, and the owner of the platform will never be able to compensate them for those lost sales, because then they'd likely be losing money. A game being a platform exclusive isn't going to make people buy a new platform to play it, and even on the rare chance it does, the developer doesn't get any cut of that platform sale. Well, we did have a comment right before this about a guy who bought a console just to play a game.
Right. I think this commenter would argue that it is a rare occurrence, and it probably is, but...
And they're right. That I don't think Sony sent Rare a check for part of that console.
Yeah, I don't think they did. No, not Rare, you mean...
sorry, I've been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, you're playing a lot. I don't think Sony sent in Rare mini checks at all.
They're about to.
Well, they're going to have to when people buy Sea of Thieves on the Sony shop or whatever.
They're about to be writing them checks. Welcome to the Seas.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun having more people playing Sea of Thieves. But back to the comment. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to include this because I wanted to show both sides of people saying like it does not benefit. I mean, although it kind of raises the question of, are console exclusives good for the gaming industry? Because this commenter said, no, they're not good for the gaming industry.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just ask the question. Are console exclusive games good for the gaming industry as a whole?
Yes, I believe so, said 63% of you. No, I don't think so, said 37% of you.
So it was kind of torn.
A little bit.
63 to 37. Okay, that's not exactly 50-50, but it's not exactly 90-10 either.
No, but it's about 2/3, 1/3.
Right, it is. Most people saying they are good for the gaming industry, but a sizable portion of people saying exclusive games are not good for the gaming industry.
Yeah.
I personally think someone on our Discord channel, I don't remember who it was, Tom Derry, who is a man wise beyond his years, said, look, they should just be able to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And whatever makes sense for them, whether it be a console exclusive or not. Like, just let them do their thing. It's what makes sense.
Right. If they make it, they get to make that call.
Right.
That's his point. And I don't think anybody would disagree with that, but that's not going to stop us from talking about it.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel too.
Yeah.
It's like, just let them do their thing. I don't think it's bad or good. It's just different.
And I will say, kind of in agreement with Tom here, I kind of think it's dumb that we worry so much about it because we don't know what the deal was.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know what their deal with Sony was.
Right.
Square can probably read these comments and instantly be like, oh, yeah, it was good for us because of this. They paid us all this damn money.
You mean Rare Enix?
Rare Enix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do mean Rare Enix. So, this is all just supposition by two rednecks in the woods.
Yeah.
This don't mean a thing.
No. All right, we got a comment here from Jamie who said, to me, having slightly better graphics or performance doesn't mean anything if there are no games to play on that console that I can't play on another console. There's really not that much of a difference between PlayStation and Xbox, but I have a PlayStation now, even though I grew up with an Xbox 360. Exclusives like Spider-Man, Last of Us, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Uncharted, etc. makes PlayStation for me so much more worth it. It's what makes Nintendo so good, as no one comes close to the amount of recognizable and beloved IP as them. Also, it would be really boring if every console had the same games and there was no competitive. Matt, I think you meant to say competition.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, that, and I think I said this on our Discord, like a console exclusive, drives competition and that's always good for us.
Mm-hmm. Because
Jamie's right. Like if every console had the same thing, why are we not just calling them PCs?
Exactly.
So I think I agree that I think, overall, I think they probably are good for us because competition is always good for the consumer. And when you have less of it, it's better for the company. And I don't want that.
Right. Same here. I think that if it makes sense for the company to put out a console of their own so they can put their own games on it and drive people to that, it's going to create competition. Because if, say, everyone was on PC and then someone came around and said, you know what? No, we're not doing PC. We're going to create our own console and put our own games on it. Well, that doesn't matter if those games suck. But if those games are bangers and the only place to play them is on that console, that is good because that makes everyone on PC be like, dang, we need to create games of that level.
Right.
Because that way we can compete for this money. I think, and that means better games for all of us.
Right. Otherwise, it's like, well, we better make sure our system's got good graphics so it can play all these games that everybody else can play.
Yeah.
It'd be a really hard, that'd be a hard sell.
Yeah. And one could argue that that company that comes out with their own console and creates all these great games, that those games would have been great whether they were on their own console or whether they were on the master PC that everyone's playing. You could definitely argue that.
Sure.
But I think that if there is a financial incentive, that's going to drive more competition.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, we got another comment here from Angel who said, nope, not unless you're the bigwigs who make money off them. As consumers, there's very little reason to want exclusive games. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was just saying, like, if there's a financial reason, like for them to create these exclusives, then it's going to drive more competition. But you got to remember that those financial reasons are not going to be putting the money in the pocket of the consumer.
No, of course not. And having more games accessible to more people is great. But I think for the reasons we just laid out, as far as driving competition, I think you can argue that it is good for the consumer. Because we get better games no matter where you land.
Right.
So it's it's not always cut and dry. It's good for certain reasons and bad for certain reasons, as is life.
Yeah. And it does suck that you would have to buy, like, especially like real hardcore enthusiasts like us. We end up buying all the consoles. We end up buying all the like exclusive games from all the different consoles, and we spend a pretty penny on this. This
100%.
is not cheap. And that does suck, especially if you're an enthusiast that can't afford to be an enthusiast. Mm-hmm. That's even worse.
Right. And now I'm about to save a little money next console generation because I'm not going to buy an Xbox. But you know what could change my mind? An Xbox console banger.
But the thing is, that's not going to happen. But you're right.
Saying.
You're right. If there was a game that could only be played on the console, and it specifically would have to be on the console,
yeah,
that would definitely change my mind.
Exactly. So I mean, there you go. We've proven our own point.
Yeah.
Randy, how often do we just stop and pat ourselves on the back for being so freaking intelligent?
We really should, let me tell you, because we are just two of the smartest guys to ever have a podcast.
Man.
Geez, no. I honestly think about it sometimes. I'm like, we really are just like two dumb hicks.
Yeah.
And, but here we are talking about video games like we know something.
Anybody that's got the internet can do it, man.
I mean,
that's
like,
the beauty of it.
We love, the thing is, what we bring is enthusiasm and love for video games.
That's right.
And we truly do love video games.
100%. This whole podcast, I've been wishing Randy would leave so I could play Sea of Thieves again.
Okay. Rude. Speaking of, Daniel, what games have you been playing this week?
Lord help me, I've been playing Sea of Thieves. I've been playing so much Sea of Thieves. I've been having so much fun.
You just approach that with the enthusiasm of a, maybe a Southern Baptist preacher there.
I could do a better impression.
I know you could.
I won't.
I know you could. But it was in the same vein.
Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves. I'm so excited about it going to PlayStation and there being more people. I'm excited about getting all these new pirates. I promise I'm not going to be toxic. I promise I'm not going to be toxic. I welcome you, and I will be happy to help you. And I'll be able to tell you apart because they're handing out some like Kraken cosmetics to all the PlayStation people.
And they're going to have them.
So we'll be able to spot them. So that'll be good.
That is actually kind of awful. I can't believe they're doing that.
They're giving them. I think
they already did that with the Xbox players. They have some exclusive cosmetics that you can only get by playing on the console version of the game, and you can always be like, "Oh, they're console players.
Yeah.
They're playing on Xbox."
Well, it's going to happen with PlayStation to a certain extent. So I'm just so excited. And I've been playing Hourglass today, and that's been fun, doing a little Sunday sweating, Mm-hmm. But not only that, I've also been playing Helldivers. Mm-hmm. I've also been playing Vampire Survivors.
Again.
Dude, that game is so fun. You can pick that game up for 30 minutes and have such a good 30 minutes,
I've heard so many good things about it. I need to try it.
Dude, you need to play it, and it runs so good on Steam Deck.
Isn't it free on phones, too?
Yeah, it is free on phones. It's a little... I don't like it as much with the touch controls. Yeah. And the screen's not big enough,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's free on phones, and it's still the game, So play it on phones if you want to.
Yeah.
I've been playing a little Final Fantasy VII, not as much as I would like to say I've played. I've just been playing other games. But
it's hard to get you away from your old standbys, isn't it?
You know it is.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to get away from my old standby. You know what? Me and you are different in the way, in more ways than one. But true. you jump from game to game like crazy. I love to just imagine you playing games, and it's just you like just objective to objective, just mainlining it, and then somebody's like, you can go over here, and you're like, screw you. And you're like, main objective, credits roll, new game. That's how I imagine Randy plays games.
It's not exactly like that.
And I'm more like, oh my God, I realize I love this game. I want to watch everything about it, read everything about it, and like learn all the intricacies about it, and never finish it.
Yeah, I never finish it. Never.
That's kind of how I am. Yeah. But
yeah,
Sea of Thieves is just that game for me right now. There will come a day when it's not, but it is not this day.
Not this day.
And I know you didn't ask this, but I am enthusiastic about it right now.
Okay.
And there's another reason I haven't been playing as many games, and that's because I have been listening to The Fellowship of the Ring on audiobook, and I have been having so much fun. I just got through the Mines of Moria, which means, what goes down with Gandalf and the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. I don't have to tell you. And
you're really bringing yourself up the nerd ladder right now. I want you to know that.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to my ladder, I guess. But it's been a great time. And tonight, I'm probably going to play some Final Fantasy VII after we get done with our stream.
So there you go.
What have you been playing, Coyote?
I have been playing...
What have you been mainlining?
I have been playing Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
I was replaying that game just to get hyped for the upcoming sequel, which is supposed to come out later this year. I've also been playing... I've been playing Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
And I have been mostly just looking out the window, waiting for the mail truck to run so I can get a copy of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to play.
That's a fun game to play,
Yeah,
too.
I love playing that game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we got chickens over the past week and a half. I think we've had them for
You sure did.
a little over a week, maybe almost 2 weeks. So I've been working on my chickens. So I've been outside being a little chicken farmer.
He has. I walked outside. Was it this? No, it was yesterday morning.
Yeah.
I walked out on my porch, and there's Randy and Catherine just farming some chickens.
Just farming them away.
I said, "Ahoy, neighbor!" And they looked up in their boots, and they were like, "We're just farming chickens."
Yeah.
For the record, I still haven't gotten any eggs.
Well, we keep eating them as fast as we get them.
Well, you need to slow down.
Yeah. We brought some down to Catherine's mom's.
That's good. I'm sure she liked them.
Y'all, if you hung out with us for this long, look, we just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And the way we really say thank you is we want to shout you out by name at the end of our next podcast. And we do that through our 3 for Dale Club.
That's right. The 3 for Dale Club is an exclusive organization, but you can join it very easily, contrary to what the word exclusive means. All you got to do is drop a comment and say whatever you want to say. I said last week, if you want to tell Randy his hat's stupid, you can. If you want to tell me black t-shirts aren't in style anymore, you can. Just make sure you also say 3 for Dale.
Yep, that's our secret code phrase. We look for that secret code phrase. If you leave it in your comment on the YouTube version of this podcast, we find it, we shout you out at the end of next week. And starting out this week, we're starting out with Dale himself. What, did I miss something?
No, you just keep looking over to the right. I keep thinking you're looking at like a side camera.
There's a side camera over there, right? No, there's not a camera over there? Oh,
Camera
man.
number 1, this camera, and this camera, and the
I can't believe there's not another camera over there.
Sorry.
I feel so dumb.
I'm sorry, man.
What I was saying is we're starting off with Dale himself, the longest running weekly member of the 3 for Dale Club. I don't even remember the last time he wasn't in the 3 for Dale Club.
Mm-mm.
It's Landon Stalling. You know him. You love him. He's the best.
You love to know him.
Yeah.
And you know you love him.
Hey.
All right. Next up, we got Guy in Time, who's also a long-running member of the 3 for Dale Club, who said, "It must be really tough being a game dev right now, and seeing every single major company go through massive layoffs. I'm sure that can't be healthy for game development or developers when job security is so low."
Agreed.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Agreed. I hope that it gets better, or I hope that we get this big AA push or indie push. I hope we see more of that.
Yeah.
AAA, although they're raking in the money, they're still laying off people. We did a whole podcast on that last week. Check out if you want to hear us talk about it for an hour. All right. Next, we got Kitaclysm, who is also another long-running member of the 3 for Dale Club, who said, "Anybody remember when the Wii U flopped and then there was a ton of layoffs?" No, because there wasn't. The higher-ups took a pay cut themselves to take responsibility for the company's losses. You don't see that kind of thing, that kind of integrity now, and it sucks, man. Yeah.
Nintendo's got some integrity about them, don't they?
Nintendo's got a little bit of class. I think that was super cool. And apparently, I don't even know if they ever even fully returned to like the hype, the pay they were at. I mean, they took these cuts. I think even though the Switch has done better, I mean, maybe they have. I don't know.
I'm sure they're living just fine.
I'm sure they're doing. I think they're doing fine before and after. But
yeah, but I do remember that, and that's class act.
Seriously, Nintendo's rolling in dough, though, guys. Don't be thinking like they're like the underdog. They are rolling in dough.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody feels bad for who in the world feels bad for Nintendo. We just talked about them suing an emulator.
Right, I know. They are rolling in dough.
All right, next comment from D18, who said, "Loving the longer episodes lately. Always a good listen. Thank you, D18 and Omaha."
And this is going to be one of those longer episodes. So
it is.
And next we got Landnator, who said, "I don't understand all the gaming is dead or there are no good games anymore" comments. Yeah.
Me neither, man.
Last year was a serious banger.
I think it might have been the bangerest of the bangers. That's ever
This
banger.
year, we kind of went into the year thinking it was going to be just as good, and we don't really know yet. We're still early in the year.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna have a little bit of a lull
that's fine.
in the middle of the year.
I need to catch up. That's fine. And you ain't gonna hear me complaining. I got plenty of games. Okay.
Me too. I need a backlog season. I need it to happen.
Yeah.
Even though I'm kind of doing it right now because for the last week I feel like I've been in backlog season. Not because I should be, because I'm not even going to talk about it anymore.
The mail.
The mail.
And lastly, we've got Tom Derry, and this is addressed to me, by the way, so I will handle this one. And he said, "Hey, Daniel, I wanted to tell you that Randy's hat is stupid." Tom, I love you, man.
Tom, I'm sad. My hat is very sensitive, and it's like very upset that you called it stupid. And normally I wouldn't even worry about it, but my hat happens to be sentient, and he tells me things, and he's very sad.
I'm going to be honest with you, Tom. I'm kind of looking at it right now, and I don't like it one bit.
There's a little dude on the front of my hat, and he's the one who thinks.
He looks kind of mad.
Yeah, well, he got called stupid.
Well, fair enough. I get mad when I get called stupid. You know, now that
Daniel's
I think about
mad
it, I stay mad.
He's mad a lot. You beat me to the joke. You got to trust that I'm going to be there. You know what I mean?
I don't trust him.
If a joke comes up where I get to call you stupid, I'm going to make the joke. You can just trust me on that, okay? I'll be there.
Thanks.
Yeah. But the fact that you beat me to it,
I just couldn't let you have it.
I know. You didn't want me to have the glory of being like, and Daniel's mad a lot, let me tell you.
So let's try it again.
Okay, let's do it again.
I always get mad when someone calls me stupid.
You know what, Daniel? I've noticed you're mad a lot.
What?
That was perfect, wasn't it? I'm glad we did that. But
They didn't like that. I thought they already turned it
look,
in
if you're
video.
here, the video's about to end. So if you're still here, you laughed at that joke. Just admit it. You laughed. You didn't laugh. And it's okay. It's okay that you didn't laugh. It's okay that you didn't laugh.
I'm not laughing.
All right, well, until next time, I'm Randy.
Which makes me Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Go Braves!